look in the upper, look at this now is frozen, and this is an angle of this attack that we have not seen before. At the top of the building on your left, out of the line.
With much protection and much security.
And the building's just collapsed straight in.
Activated for some reason.
Rendered useless.
What's happened to it today? Do you know precisely what's happened?
I talked to some folks down there, and my understanding is that a lot of the debris has fallen and has blocked the access to the building.
Well, Peter, we have a little bit of news on that front. As you know, he is in the air again on his way somewhere from Shreveport, Louisiana. We have been told by sources that he will not be coming to Washington. He's going to make another stop at an undisclosed secure location.
United planes, United 93, that is the plane that crashed south of Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And now United 175, that plane, the plane from Boston to Los Angeles, a government source has confirmed that that was the second plane that went into one of the World Trade Towers in New York.
Transportation Secretary has directed the Federal Aviation Civic to be able to tell the public before that happens.
That's KC-135.
Can come back to Washington. In the meantime, as you probably
You're getting him out?
But who knows what's going on right now. Yeah, man. I can't hear you, man.
Good afternoon. Along with Kelly Schultz, I'm John Carroll. We want to break away briefly from ABC's live continuous coverage of this morning's terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon.
First, we want to give you an update on the situation at the Colorado Springs Airport. Of course, the Springs Airport is shut down like all the airports across the country. News 13's Joe Ferdani joins us live with the very latest. Joe?
Thank you very much, Kelly. You know, things have quieted down here a lot, especially since some of our morning reports as well as the early afternoon reports. All of the terminal is basically been evacuated. We don't see any passengers around, as well as the gates to the actual concourse have been closed. Joining me now is Gary Green, the Director of Aviation at the Colorado Springs Airport. Gary, we've seen a lot of police activity, some areas being roped off. We've seen Air One, the Colorado Springs helicopter around the Jet Center there. Give us a sense of why we're seeing so much activity at this point.
Well, Joe, we have implemented our contingency plan, which has a set of procedures that we have to go through to...
Some network reports have reported that President George Bush may indeed be coming to Colorado Springs. Obviously, we have NORAD here, Schriever Air Force Base, some other very large defense installations. Is the president possibly coming to Colorado Springs?
I heard the same rumor you did, Joe, but I can't confirm that.
Gary Green, I appreciate you taking some time out to talk to us. And of course, John and Kelly, we will be here throughout the afternoon to update you on the latest here at the Colorado Springs Airport. As we said earlier, it has gotten much quieter out here. In fact, when we came through, we mentioned during that interview about those checkpoints, and they actually had a few Colorado Springs police officers looking through some trunks, asking people to get out of their car, and just making sure. The aviation director, Gary Green, told us he cannot confirm nor deny whether or not President Bush is coming to the Colorado Springs Airport. Reporting live from the airport, Joe Ferdani, News 13.
All right, thank you, Joe. And right before we went to Joe, of course, we just heard ABC News report that the president is airborne again.
Right, on the move, but we don't know where he's going. So.
From Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska. So as that situation develops, we'll continue to keep you posted. Once again, the airliners involved in this morning's terrorist attacks on the World Trade Centers and the Pentagon involved United Airlines and American Airlines. Right, 2 airlines each. And if you would like more information about the people on board, the phone number to call for American is 1-800-245-0999, and United's number is 1-800-932-8555. And we should inform you, we have just learned that ABC News plans continuous coverage of the terrorist attacks from now until Nightline tomorrow night. So we will be cutting in with News 13 updates when we feel appropriate. In the meantime, keep it here for continuing coverage.
Dave Rose, call Patty at 234. Dave Rose, call Patty at 234.
Okay.
tower was hit. And even so, they were able to get down because they were on the right side of the building.
One other note to mention, at 4:30 this afternoon Eastern Time, the FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, is number 7. But because a number of buildings in the immediate adjacent area are vulnerable.
This is looking at...
And there you get a good look from that graphic of the relationship between number 7 and the north and the south.
We're doing
that was my brother. They called
Live and Mobile 7 at 4:30, and then we're going to use Mobile 3 live at 5:30.
The warehouse one is
for a cut-in.
Yeah, I'll be back then.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's 5:30.
Yeah, I'll come next.
All that World Trade Center collapse. Building 7.
Ready to do another live cut-in in about 13 minutes.
Vote 2, and
Okay.
we
All right. I just want to make sure our live shot remote 2 is back here. Right now we're getting network, it looks like.
learned of these attacks, the Department of
Yeah, throw it in there just in case.
has begun readying teams and resources.
We're breaking into ABC's coverage of the terrorist attack on America. I'm Kelly Schultz.
And I'm John Carroll. Heightened security at Peterson Air Force Base and Colorado Springs Airport today in light of the tragedy in New York.
News 13's Joe Ferdani joins us live from the Colorado Springs Airport. And Joe, what precautions are they taking out there?
Well, you know, Kelly and John, it certainly is a surreal experience out here. As I step out of the picture, you can see the tarmac here as well as the concourse desolate. I mean, what we see are security vehicles. You see one pulling out there with the lights going on top of the vehicle. We've seen a lot of Colorado Springs Police Department vehicles moving around. Police officers searching some of the vehicles, opening trunks, asking passengers to get out of the car. That tells you that something horrible indeed has happened in the United States of America.
We anticipate an announcement of some sort from the Federal Aviation Administration later today, maybe early this evening, which will give us some guidelines on how much longer we'll have to be in this shutdown mode of operation.
So once again, very surreal out here, very quiet, and as Gary Green said, it looks like there won't be any activity out here until at least noon tomorrow. Reporting live from the Colorado Springs Airport, Joe Ferdani, News 13.
All right, thank you, Joe. We have heard that President Bush will address the nation tonight at 7 o'clock our time. Besides the grounding of all flights locally, the El Paso County Courthouse closed its doors.
NORAD, Schriever Air Force Base, Fort Carson, and the Air Force Academy sent home all non-essential personnel and, of course, are on heightened alert.
Grounded flights obviously have stranded hundreds of people at the Colorado Springs Airport.
News 13's Antoine Glover has more on the closure.
This is my last leg on a fishing trip to Alaska. I'm heading back home to New Hampshire. That's why I came to the airport today.
Antoine Glover, News 13.
Some of the hotels putting up passengers are giving them a discounted rate.
And of course, we'll be back at 5:30 with another update here on News 13. In the meantime, we want to return to ABC's continuing coverage of the attack on America.
They were up early.
They were up early. I just want to make sure they're...
This is News 13 at 5:30. Your news team, everywhere, every day.
The country is in shock and disbelief today over the terrorist attacks in New York and in Washington at the Pentagon. Good evening, I'm Kelly Schultz.
And I'm John Carroll.
Tragedies of this magnitude are a serious test of our faith. People all over Colorado Springs are flocking to area churches to pray, to find solace, and somehow make sense of this senseless violence.
News 13's Christy Brown joins us live outside Pauline Chapel, where a service has just started. Christy?
Thanks a lot, John. Yes, we've seen lots of people headed into the chapel here. Services like the one that just started out here at Pauline Chapel have been going on all day, all over Colorado Springs. Reporting live from Colorado Springs, I'm Christy Brown.
All right, thanks, Christy.
Once the FAA ordered all airports closed nationwide, the Colorado Springs Airport was quick to tighten security.
News 13's Tim Glenn tells us what the airport is doing to keep the facility safe and secure.
But we would ask that people who had planned to travel Colorado Springs Airport today not come to the airport today.
One by one, the planes fill the tarmac, not to leave the Springs Airport again until the FAA gives the all clear. Police officers man the curbs to make sure no cars come to the airport entrance. Tim Glenn, News 13.
Airport officials say all flights will likely be canceled until at least tomorrow afternoon.
As news of today's horrific events got out, school officials reacted.
News 13's Mike Garofalo joins us now. Mike, you visited a number of schools, and what was the mood out there?
Well, basically, school leaders wanted to keep everything as close to normal as possible. But given the magnitude of today's events, that wasn't an easy job.
In the hallways at Palmer High School, it looked like any other school day. But in the principal's office, people were glued to the TV.
And shortly after today's apparent terrorist attack, I spoke to people in downtown Colorado Springs about the tragedy.
And I just feel such a great sadness for what's going on.
How can we even comprehend, what's happened to all the people that were in the building?
Do things that we've never done before, and I think we have to get, I don't want to say get even, but we just certainly can't let it go by. It's
John and Kelly, people just seemed in shock all around town today. What did you notice?
Numb.
Yes.
Yeah,
it hit me when I drove into our parking lot today, saw the flag at half-staff, and co-workers all sitting in their offices with the TV tuned in, just glued to the set.
Call the Red Cross to find out, but they say it will take at least 72 hours to know for sure. So the best thing to do, and possibly the hardest, is wait. Gloria Lopez, News 13.
The Red Cross is also asking for money donations for disaster victims and to get disaster volunteers to the affected areas. Before we go tonight, we have some cancellations to tell you about. All high school activities, both athletic and curricular, are canceled for tonight. Parks and rec programs are canceled for the evening.
Now, the National Football League is considering canceling all games for the weekend, and for the first time since 1944, all Major League Baseball games are canceled. That's going to do it for us tonight. We'll be back here tonight on News 13 at 10 with more local reaction to today's events.
Good night.
We've got the lights up. The generators are working, and it's very possible they could be moving in soon for some kind of activity actually on the site. We're about four and a half blocks from Ground Zero.
As awkward as it looks to him, this is what we've expected of him.
Good evening. Our country is strong. Great people have been moving to defend a great nation. With the caring of strangers and neighbors who came to give blood.
The head of all. How's it going there, Joe?
It's going great. Immediately following the first attack, I implemented our government's emergency response plans. Our military is powerful.
You're going to be back at the airport there, Joe, tonight?
No, not tonight.
I appreciate so very much the members of Congress who have joined me in strongly condemning these attacks. And on behalf of the American people, I thank the many world leaders who have called to offer their condolences. He has been threatened. And I pray they will be comforted by a power greater than theirs, spoken through the ages in Psalm 23. Good night, and God bless America.
President of the United States. There's been no one in the history of international terrorism who's been more elusive, who has stymied the United States.
I need to know if Joe wants that footage from the feed so that I can bring it to him. You don't have that?
No, oh, that's all right. I'm just capturing it. Okay, and yours is...
Because that doesn't even have the same paper.
Huh. Okay, thank you.
On this day in American history, there's been a lot of comparisons.
Well, there's the lineup rundown for the newscast. That's what it is. 19 minutes before the news. Stephanie, would it be possible for you to put remote 2 back in there?
Hey, just so
Thank
you know, after you
Okay, we're about 7 minutes away. Apparently, yeah. What I'm going to do now, apparently they may go to like a special report full screen. Just toss the board over as quick as you can. If there's no LMS open, no LMS closed, that stuff we're going to run at the end of the show is VTR3. We may take a live shot in the Spruce Street murder story. There's no video there. There's going to be no video in sports. A quick toss to weather. It's fairly low key.
Flight 11, a Boeing 767 from Boston to Los Angeles, crashed into one of the twin towers of the World Trade Center. Then, 10 minutes later, the second plane, a United flight also from Boston to Los Angeles, crashed into the second tower.
The first focus was on Afghanistan, where officials of the Taliban government not only condemned the attacks, but insisted for whatever it's worth that Osama bin Laden is forbidden to use the country as a base for terrorism, and is in no position to do so, though he's believed to have planned previous terrorism from there.